Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
Well, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glow Cloud team.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Long time no see. Hopefully, you have joined us from the BGP and networking workshop that we just completed. If so, we are happy to have you. If not, we're still happy to have you. My name is Chris Johnson. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Go Cloud Careers. And I am joined by Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer, and Mike Gibbs, our founder and CEO. Sorry if I seem like I don't have much energy. It's been, I feel like we just did this Q&A yesterday. Wait, we did. Okay. So, welcome to our cloud computing career training Q&A session. If you've got any questions about your cloud career training, if you want to be a cloud architect and you're trying to figure out what cloud architect training looks like, if you want to be a cloud engineer and you're trying to figure out what cloud engineer training looks like, this is the place for you to ask questions. Normally we do this on Monday afternoons, but because of our workshop today, we decided to do one after our workshop for about an hour. And so we'll be here till around 6 o'clock or so. So ask your questions. Anything related to cloud architect jobs, cloud engineer jobs, cloud careers, cloud architect careers. If you don't even know what a cloud architect does or what a cloud engineer does, that's what we're here for. We are here to take your questions. So make sure you ask your questions. Don't do like half the people do, and they did it yesterday too. They waited until I told them that we were leaving. And then, lo and behold, there was about 15 questions that popped up when I said we were leaving. So I said we were leaving, and then about an hour later, we left. So we can't do that today. It has been a long day. So I guess I'll say we're leaving, and hopefully people will ask their questions. But while we wait for hopefully some questions to pop in here, Alonzo, Mike, if you'll allow me to tell people about a few things, and then I'd like to get a few words from you. So first of all, make sure that you join our How to Become the Ultimate Cloud Architect webinar this Thursday. This is a free webinar for you. If you're interested in becoming a cloud architect or a solution architect, we will tell you exactly how to do this and exactly how we can help you do this. Tyrone from our team, or Eddie from our team, someone will be posting that link there in the chat box. I see Tyrone has done it. So join us. We'll have about a 30-minute presentation, and then stick around and ask questions. You'll be able to ask us questions live, off mute, not like here on YouTube. It'll be an interactive experience where you can ask us your questions and we can answer your questions. We can have a conversation. So make sure to register for that. It's completely free. Next thing, in case you didn't get it and you attended the workshop that we just finished, make sure to get your free BGP Guide ebook. It is a great resource. It covers a bit more in some areas than what we were able to do in the workshop, but it is a great resource. Make sure you get that free resource. Again, someone from our team will be posting that link there in the chat box as well. So get that. And if you didn't watch the workshop, watch the workshop. You can find it on our YouTube channel. It'll be great. Go hand in hand with that ebook. Next, I want to make sure that everybody is aware of our 4th of July promotion that we have. We've started it early, available on all programs except for our Elite Cloud Architect program. So this is available on our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program, Tech Interview Fundamentals programs, all payment plans and payment options related to those. We've got new options for different financing and things like that with PayPal and Klarna and Affirm and every credit card you can think of, all available for you there. Just follow that link that's in the chat box. So as Eddie said, get those questions coming. And as I've said, get those questions coming. And as I said earlier, it's awfully quiet so far. So get those questions coming. So Mike, Alonzo, anything you'd like to share before we start trying to get some of these questions?
Yeah, I think I'll begin, and then I want to go to Alonzo as well. Here's the key. The secret to building the best career is to figure out what you want to do, get the guidance of people who have not just done it a little, people that have done it, that have reached the highest pinnacles of success in the career that you desire, because they know how to make it because they're already there. Building the right plan, and then executing on that plan and never quitting until you win. And whether that was me leaving internal medicine for tech, or whether it's the laundry list of students that I could give you that had 1,000,001 different jobs that are not cloud architects, it all starts with a plan. And that's why we're here. I can tell you from my experience, 95% of the people that want to be cloud architects or solution architects don't know what the job is, and they learn all the wrong things, which is truly sad. And the reason it's sad is time is money. We only have a certain amount of it, and time is our most valuable commodity. When I used to practice internal medicine, sadly, I saw the end of life for a lot of people. All of them said, I wish I did this. I wish I had this relationship. I wish I did this. I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen the end of the movie a few hundred more times or maybe 1,000 times than I ever wish I saw for people. Live your life like it's your last day. Enjoy your life and do everything that you've ever desired and don't regret anything. A life of regret is not a good life. Whatever finds you happy, figure out what it is. And all of you can do anything. You know, I've coached a tremendous number of people over the last 20 years of coaching, and I've been in tech now for 25 years. The only people that I've never seen be able to achieve your goals are the ones that said, I can't do it. The ones who are afraid to start. The ones that quit. It's almost like some people are just afraid of success. Don't be afraid of success. Do what you love. Look, I practiced internal medicine. Guess what? I liked it, but it was work. Then I moved over to tech. I don't think I've worked a day in my life. Now, sure, there were times where I worked long hours, but I never worked. Somebody paid me to do what I love. They paid me to design toys, play with toys, go to fancy dinners, go golfing, go to the Super Bowl with box seats, all part of the architect's job, but I don't think I ever worked. So the key is ask your questions so we can help you get to your goals. I don't want to see you waste a minute of your life. The average cloud architect earns $800 a day. Every day that you're not working is costing you $800 a day. Every month, if you desire to be an architect that you're not working, is costing you $16,000. Don't wait. If you wait 6 months, you know, imagine what that's going to cost you. $96,000, let alone doing whatever doesn't make you happy. So, Alonzo, you want to introduce something?
No, actually, you've said a lot about it, Mike. We really have spoken to thousands of people. We've spoken to them on the phone, via email, or all types of correspondence, and they have one singular goal, and that is to change their life. Now, I won't beat a dead horse. I won't be able to reiterate what Mike said already, but we want you all to take action against your future, towards your future, into your future, by becoming a cloud architect. We have the resources, skill, experience, and human capital needed to give you everything to be a winning combination for your career as a cloud architect. We've had people strive to become cloud architects and ended up becoming enterprise architects. We've had those, and even those, we got an example of those who didn't even decide to join our program, but just alone looked at our free content and ended up getting a substantial increase in what they already had in their job. So imagine what you can do if you apply your effort towards working with us. We look forward to doing that. So answer your questions. We're here for you, and we're ready to move.
All right. So let's get into these questions here. So not sure if this is so much of a question, but Mike, I'm going to use it as an opportunity for you to talk about finding the right information. So JR says, is there too much content to digest daily on the YouTube platform?
JR, here's the thing. I wouldn't be getting most of my content from the YouTube platform anyway. So I like YouTube because it enables me to communicate with a wider audience. But I want to show you the difference between what people that earn the highest salaries do versus what the rest of the population does. You know, when I did my MBA, when I learned to practice internal medicine, they always would make sure that you sourced your information from the right thing. And I remember when the internet first came out, and you know, we looked at the world. Do you go to the New England Journal of Medicine, or do you go to Fred Ann Martha's blog? You go to New England Journal of Medicine. 95% of what you find on YouTube is complete and total garbage and a complete and total waste of your time. And here's what I mean by this. Let's say you want to learn something about healthcare. You can learn from a physician that has 50 years of experience that's from Johns Hopkins or the Cleveland Clinic, or you can go from somebody that figured out how to lose 10 pounds on their own invented their own diet which worked for their body chemistry, which may not do anything for you, and you can learn. So the key is, I don't get my information on YouTube. I go to Chief Information Officer magazine, I go to Business Week, I go to Forbes, I go to The Economist, I read the Wall Street Journal, I read premier tech publications like Information Week and Tech Republic and Tech Radar. I read CIO Dive, and that's where I get information. And guess what? If you go to any VP in any company, that's where they get their information. So here's the key. When it comes to getting quality information, go to some place where you actually have to be capable to receive it. I have 3 media interviews waiting for me at the end of the day. And they're big media interviews. And why are they coming in waiting for me? Because I've already done it. I've provided digital transformations for some of the world's largest organizations, and there's a track record. And when I write for Information Week, it's because they've already vetted me to speak. I go to YouTube, and it can literally be someone that had a job as a trainee, and the next time they were fired from their job, and now they've got a YouTube channel. And that's not really the person you want to listen to. So go to the right sources of information. Ask people that have in their title one of the following: principal, director, senior director, VP, or C-suite, meaning CIO, CTO, CFO. Ask them why. They've already been there. Don't ask the person that's a trainee. Don't ask the person by comparison that's there. I have a YouTube channel, but guess what? When I was at Cisco, I taught the Cisco engineers. I would teach architects, and I would also teach sales reps. When I worked at Riverstone, I would speak at industrial conferences. So what I'm teaching here is exactly the way it would be done at Cisco. So all I'm saying is look for an organization's pedigree and look at the source of the information. Somebody sent me a YouTube video that was made by cloud engineers on the skills that you need to be a cloud architect. Here's the problem. Engineers know nothing about the cloud architect's job. It's a different career. It's like asking an airplane pilot how to design an airplane. They don't know. Their career is something different. So the key is, if you do use YouTube, here's what you're going to look for. You're going to look for someone that's actually done it. And if they have principal in their title, like a principal architect, they know how to be successful. They are successful. If they're a VP of architecture, they're also successful. So look at their actual resume. Now look at how often they change jobs on their LinkedIn profile. If someone had 6 jobs in 5 years, chances are they got fired from every single job because they weren't competent. Look at someone that's got some career stability. That's what hiring managers look for. Look for people that are published. You will find some people that have YouTube channels that are published in big media, and they're going to be good information for you to receive. But just look at the source. Don't necessarily do what everybody else does, because usually it's the wrong thing. Look for what that top 1% or was reading. Read that top 1%. You know, when I was younger, I was in the Middle East, and an economist had an incredible actually it was for CNBC. And they show you the person that's sitting there, and they show them watching CNBC and reading The Economist. And then next year later, they get out of their basic clothes, and they're now wearing like an Armani suit, and they're now sitting in a boardroom. Yes, there's a lot of information. It's information overload. Just look for the right information from the right places, and you'll have a career like you can't even imagine. If either one of you guys want to add to that.
Well, I'd certainly agree with that, Mike. I think proper preparation prevents poor performance, and that's in your execution. That's in how you brand yourself, how you go about your overall examination of how do you want to become a cloud architect. And we've seen it time and time again with people who can give you the keys to the kingdom on how to become a cloud architect, and yet they've never become one, nor do they know what the actual role entails based off of CIO.com magazine. So you have to be focused on what your overall strategy is with how you get there. And these are some of the things that we always tell our clients and prospective ones as well. And the overall outcome is I love to see when they start there in a totally different competency, industry, skill set, and so forth. They go through the life cycle of our program and come out the other end as cloud architects. And I couldn't be more proud of them, not only because of what they've done on their end, but what we help them transform to be on our end. with our awesome instructors, our experienced staff, the total combined experience of what we offer and how we're able to provide the success rate along with what we do. So I love seeing that happen, and I think we can do this for anyone who's watching our YouTube channel right now.
Right. So I'm going to take the lead on this next one, y'all. And if you try to talk, I'm going to mute all of you.
Oh, you got the buzzer, Chris?
And I will use the buzzer.
I
will preface this with the person that I'm going to be responding to is in our program. And I'm going to further preface this with everything, and every student of ours should know everything that I say comes from a place of love and comes from a place of doing what is best for you.
That preamble.
Well, Vaughn says, I don't know why I haven't done my assignment of what type of cloud architect do you want to be. I have so much anxiety over that. I am a graphic designer. I can design an entire brand easy. It's just I don't want to go down the wrong road. I have so much gumption to be a multi-cloud architect, but I thought I would get as much information on cloud architects as possible, but I'm behind. So I'm glad you bring this up. Now, what I wish you would do is bring this up in the Slack community, so that the rest of the community can support you, because that's why we have our community. That's why we have Slack. That is literally the only reason we have a Slack community, is for that second word, the community. Next, just do it. Do the assignment. We have an order to the program. We have an order to the assignments. We know that you want to do this. I can see your activity feed in the training portal. So I can see that you've been doing stuff. But I could also see that you haven't done that assignment. Why do we put this assignment where we put it? Why is it at the very beginning? Because you need a direction. What if you decide that's not the right direction? Guess what? You can change. It's not a deal with the devil, I promise. It is not. Now, what's the beauty of that? Whatever direction you decide, if you want to become a security architect, if you want to become a network architect, if you want to become a general architect, regardless of what you decide to do, your starting point is most likely going to be the same. And the majority of things that you're going to be learning will be relevant in every single role. So let's say you decide that you want to become a network architect or a cloud network architect. Great. After a month or two of going down the path of preparing to be a cloud network architect, you decide you don't want to be a cloud network architect. You know how useful that networking information is going to be in whatever architect role you desire to become? That information is going to be useful. So it's not going to be lost information. It's not going to be wasted information. It's not going to be lost time. It's not going to be wasted time. Information is power. Information is gold. And vice versa. If you decide, if you want to start off with a security architect path, and then a month into it, you're like, you know what? I don't want to do security. I'm not passionate about securing environments at all. How much do you think that security information that you've learned over a month is going to be helpful as a general architect or as a network architect? Very, very helpful, because it all goes hand in hand. So I don't know why you haven't done it, but I can tell you how you can solve the problem. That's by doing it. Now, even if you don't do the assignment right now, what I want you to do, and I'm going to be watching the Slack channel, Slack community, Wellbon. I want you to go post something in Slack about what you just shared here. I will be watching. I want you to post this on either the questions career or the Hangouts channel. One of those two channels. Go post this on those channels. And I'm going to call everybody's attention to it because that's what the community is for. So that's what I got to say. Would the two of you like to share anything about this?
Definitely. Wellman, I know where you come from because I came from a creative background as well. I know exactly how to brand, execute, do a creative campaign, all sorts of things that go with that, and what needs to happen when you're speaking with creatives and think tank, and you guys got to come up with ideas and all sorts of stuff. And now you've come into a conclusion that you need to do something else. And I know how it feels. However, don't what we call analysis paralysis is you're flipping it over, trying to understand, is this the right thing to do, when to do, how to do, where to do, who do I need to talk to? And at that point in time, it creates so much doubt and a lack of assurance. Just apply. And as I have, because I'm trying to help you understand that the same type of skill set that you have applied to be a successful creative can be applied here as a cloud architect. You're speaking to customers, you're speaking to clients, you're trying to understand what their pain points are, you're trying to brand, you're trying to create products that exemplify what their overall identity is. Same thing with cloud architecture. You got logos, you got facets of the architecture. You're trying to build and understand what the market is so that they can be more successful. You're trying to understand what their market is so that they can be more successful through business and digital transformation. There's a lot of parallels that you really haven't realized yet. And we want you to succeed, which is why inadvertently we're calling you out, but we're doing it as family love. We're doing a bit of an intervention here to make sure that you're leveraging everything in our program to help you become and get you where you need to go. So do what Chris says. We're here for you. What about you, Mike?
But before Mike says something, I do want to say, well, Bon, may not have the most up-to-date information, but as of May, you hadn't attended a live class since March. So if you're able to attend a live class, attend a live class. You attended 5 or 6 in a row in March. If you're able to keep doing it, come back and do it. Mike?
Well, but first, please come to class. I love when our students get hired, and if you're in there, you're going to get hired. You have to do what you love, and don't be afraid to get started, and you can always change. Look, I studied internal medicine, went to school for 7 years. Then I became a network engineer, realized engineering wasn't for me, became a network architect, and loved it. Then decided to do enterprise architecture for a while. Then strategy consulting, which is business architecture, then cloud. The principles of most of these things are 80% the same, design, present, and sell. Now, I will give you a little guidance just to think about if you can't figure it out. The closer you are to the tech, the less you're going to earn. Meaning the more technical you are, the lower your salary is. So if you're an enterprise architect where you're a business act, you've got strong levels of business acumen, according to salary.com today, the average salary of somebody with strong business acumen skills is $558,000 a year. Compare that to a cloud engineer whose average salary is about $150,000 because they're closer to the tech. If you're a security architect or a network architect, as a rule, unless you've got good business skills, it's a $200,000 job as opposed to a $500,000 plus job if you've got really good business acumen. So if you don't know and you can't figure it out, the closer you are to the business, the more job opportunities you will have, and the higher the salary, and the faster you'll get promoted. But you can clearly see I love networking. And there were times in my career where I was willing to take a $200,000 or $300,000 pay cut just to work in networking because I loved it, because it fulfilled me. And I would have rather earned $200,000 in networking as opposed to $500,000 in business. Years later, I wanted a better lifestyle. I went into the business side of it, and it's okay. But the point is, you've got to do what you actually love. And that's going to be the most secret and important thing for you. You have to do what you love. So please, just get started. Come to class. Start interacting with some of your community members. We created that Slack community. It's a private community for a reason. Everybody in there is part of our community, so they have leaps and bounds of strategic advantages over everybody else. We have people that are working, that are architects that are in that community. That have graduated our program. We have people that are senior in the program. And we keep it to just us because we don't want anybody getting sidetracked by people that don't even know what an architect actually is. So leverage that community. Start going to people. Start meeting people. Heck, attend the conference we're going to have over there in Orlando in October. And really network with some of those people. Have some fun. Drink with some of your buddies or whatever that, if that's something you can do. And if it's something that's against your religion, have some dinner with them, whatever you can. But the point is, go out there and meet people. Build a career you love. And just get started.
Agreed. And remember, everything that we said comes from a place of love and wanting what's best for you. So, and to follow up on what Mike said, do what you love. How are you going to figure out what you love? By trying. None of us started off doing what we loved. We may have thought we loved it at the time, but I did hospitality management for 12 years. And at the time I loved it, but now I love something else. So, that's how life goes. So try it, do the assignment and try some stuff. All right. From Curtis asks, when it comes to taking the CISSP exam without the required security work experience to be officially considered certified, how would the label of ISC2 associate be beneficial or utilized on a resume?
Okay, Curtis, I'm going to give you two things. One, as a hiring manager, I don't care who's got any certifications. And if I ask 1,000 hiring managers, they don't care about it at all. Now, if you take the CISSP, everybody knows you passed the exam. Now, we know that's 1,000,000 times harder than a Security Plus, or 1,000,000 times harder than an AWS Advanced Networking. And knowing that you did something that's challenging is enough to think, hey, that Curtis guy has got some commitment. He did the harder exam. And if you just put CISSP-associate on it, and then you explain it, the people are going to understand what it is. And they're going to think more highly of you that you did it without the exam because you probably had to study harder for it. The key to remember is certifications are only useful to get you an interview. There is nothing on any certification other than the CCIE that will teach you anything related to a career. And as long as you remember that certifications are kind of like the icing on the cake is your actual knowledge and the skills that are preparation for the job. And the certification is like, yep, I learned the vendors' names of what they call these other things. You'll be good to go. Now, I don't want you to think that I have anything against certifications, but I want to put it into context. Let's say we're talking about an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. What does an architect do? They design a solution. There's no design in that certification. They present the solution to the customer. There's no presentation skills training in there. They respond to RFIs, RFPs, and RFQs. There's none of that in the certification. They lead large teams of people. There's none of that. They sell things. Architects, we sell things. There's none of that. We present at conferences. There's none of that. Now in the certification, they teach you the name of a service that you usually can't use, like DynamoDB or Amazon Aurora. They don't work in multi-cloud, and 98% of customers are multi-cloud. So it's incumbent on you as an architect to know not to use the stuff that's covered in your certifications. So certifications are really good for junior level jobs like a cloud admin, but they don't work for your bigger, more professional jobs. So the certification is like a college degree. It shows that you had the commitment to do it, and that means a lot. When I see a master's degree on someone's resume, I don't think they were taught anything about their career. I know they weren't, but I thought, wow, they went to school for 6 years. They did all these papers that they didn't need to write. They worked long hours. And for that, I say this person's got the stickiness to get through it. I should probably talk to them. They're probably a harder worker than someone that didn't. Do I think they learned anything valuable? No. But it doesn't matter. It shows the commitment to excellence. So that's what people are going to see. And when you go on an interview, here's the people that don't get hired. I know security. I have a CISSP. That is basically escort them to the door. Now, when we ask them, how would you design a secure demilitarized zone for a mission critical web app? And they can explain it to us. Now I go, yeah, this is somebody that knows security. They know our security architecture. And then when we see that thing on the resume, it's like, yeah, good job. Yeah, I can see it. How do you design a security policy for an enterprise with XYZ problem? and they can answer it with knowledge and competency, then that certification looks really good. So just keep this. Remember, the certification is the icing on the cake, but you have to have the cake first. I've got people like Delroy who had 0 certifications that we got hired as a cloud security architect, and no experience either. And other people that we got hired with a cloud practitioner and no other certifications. In fact, the last cloud security architect we got hired only had a cloud practitioner and no other certifications, yet he got a very high-end cloud security architect job because he knew security, he knew design, and we trained him to be an architect. So don't think so much about the certification. It's just a stamp. That's all it is. You can't cash a certification check at the bank, but you can an offer letter. It's just a piece of paper. And if you run out of heat and firewood or gas or diesel or whatever your house is heated with, you can always use it to start a fire and warm yourself up. But it's just a piece of paper. You are what's special, Curtis. The knowledge that you have, the way you treat others, the way you make others make you feel, the knowledge in your head, that's what makes you special. So celebrate your humanity, develop extremely good competency, and you realize that any piece of education is something that's part of the cumulative thing that makes you better. And when you take the CISP exam, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So, just keep that. Keep developing you. Don't worry about the certifications. The employers don't care about it. The only people that worry about certifications are the people that are selling them. And I'll tell you, Curtis, when I started my career, I wanted to move in tech. I took this 5-day, $5,000 MCSE boot camp. And when I was done, not a single employer cared about my certification at all. And I asked them what I needed to do, and they said I needed a CCNP. So guess what? I took the CCNA on my own, and I spent $11,000 on a 10-day CCNP boot camp. And when nobody would hire me, I called them, and they said, you need a CCDP, the Cisco Certified Design Professional. So guess what? I got that too. By the time I was done, I had 3 professional certifications and 6 associate certifications. I sent out 5 resumes and got 5 rejections, Curtis. And you know what I did? I said, it's ridiculous to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So I started calling really high-end tech recruiters all across the country, one in each state. And they told me exactly what hiring managers wanted for the perfect network engineer, because that was what I asked. I spent about 8 weeks learning everything they told me. Went on my first interview and was hired as a senior network engineer with 0 tech background. Don't use certification as a vehicle to get hired. Don't confuse certification with knowledge. Figure certification is wrapping paper on a beautiful gift. You are the gift. You are what's special. Develop you. Don't worry about the rest of it.
Couldn't agree more, Mike. There's just, like we always talk about, the industry and its leaders have really bolstered up and kind of inflated the value of certifications out here. Name brands, just like the fashion on there, it's the name, and they want to promote that name. I mean, the jeans are the same, but depending on what brand is on that jeans, it'll be the difference between a 90 pair or a $500 pair of jeans. The same thing with these certifications. Overall, if they're the end all to be all, then why are there competitors? Why are other people? Why is there multi-cloud, hybrid cloud? Why do people not invest in pure cloud? What are the problems of pure cloud that could happen? These type of questions that people need to be asking about themselves or these certifications that they decide to take. Number 2, never let the certification be your identifier. Are you competent? Can you walk us through a lot of the security protocols? If you're a networker, can you tell us the difference between internal BGP, internal, external? Can you talk about OSPF? Can you talk about the finite state machine? What happens if the connection is broken? Are you going to be able to walk through these scenarios with the hiring manager? So when you talk about the competency specific to you being a network cloud architect, security cloud architect, or a generalist for that matter, understand that the competency is superior than just handing over some certifications and just saying, I've done this, hire me. From Des, do you need automation or in-depth knowledge of coding and programming languages to become a solution and or cloud architect?
Des, coding has nothing to do what we do as solution architects or cloud architects. Zero. Now, here's the thing, Des. We design a solution, present the solution, sell the solution, negotiate the solution. I'm going to make it very clear to you. You will not be allowed to touch the technology. And architects who try to touch the technology typically get fired or demoted because they're not able to see the big picture. And you can typically see them. You got a software engineer. Somehow they sneak as a cloud architect. And 2 months later, they're working at another company as a software engineer all over again. There is zero coding in architecture. Now, some people think that understanding coding would help them design a solution, but it won't. And I'll give you the example one. The cloud is nothing more than a network and data center. So let's say you're an expert on Python. And I'm going to give you a couple of questions to know, which I know you, a Python expert, wouldn't know the answer to show you how little coding has anything to do with our world. How would you design let me ask an expert coder how they would design a secure demilitarized zone for a web app, how they would design the IP addressing plan for 20,000 remote locations, how they can have a company that has 200,000 remote access employees. How would a programmer do that with their knowledge of code? How will they design a system to improve the communication and collaboration? How will a programmer design something to improve the business's revenue? How will because these are things the architects do. How will the architect improve the operational efficiency of a business? You know, those are the kind of things that architects actually do. They design technology solutions to improve business performance. Now, what do those things require knowledge of? Networking and data centers. We're using virtual machines, right? That's a data center technology. A container, it's a data center technology. A database is an application we use in a data center, or the cloud, it's the same thing. A storage area network, nothing to do with code, everything to do with data center. Routers, networking. Firewalls, networking. VPN concentrators, networking. Intrusion detection prevention systems, networking/security. So there's no part of coding in any place in an architecture. And the reason I'm going through such a deep example here, Des, is it really breaks my heart. I see all these people doing these cloud projects just because somebody told them to do so. That was never an architect, and they're teaching people to do an architect projects. And they spend 6 months learning Python, another 6 months learning DevOps, another 6 months learning SysOps, which is maintenance. All things which we will never touch in our entire lives because it's not related to the architect's job. We design it, present it, and sell it. Now, why do I get so concerned about it? Because the average architect earns $800 a day. And if someone spends 18 months learning Python and DevOps and SysOps, they will have zero preparation or abilities to do anything in the architecture field. Now, if they spend 18 months, they lost $300,000 of wasted income by learning the wrong things. So if you know, I'm pretty passionate here. It's about developing your business acumen, your communication skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your design knowledge. How do I design this and how do I solve these problems? And we teach all of that in our training program. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. It's not about coding. In fact, I always find it interesting when I work with software engineers, and I love software engineers like everybody else. And I start talking about a server itself. And most software engineers wouldn't even know about CPU cores or DRAM or storage or RAID or networking or any of it because it's somebody else's job. The same way an architect won't know anything about coding, a coder won't know anything about architecture. So no, we don't need any of that. We don't do automation. Now, as an architect, we may recommend AI to take over the work of certain people. So that we might do, but we're not going to automate software releases like a DevOps engineer. That's somebody else's job. And we're not going to be doing data science work either. That's somebody else's job. We're not going to be patching operating systems, and you won't be allowed to touch the technology. If you work for AWS or Azure or Google or Accenture, Deloitte or KPMG or PricewaterhouseCoopers or any major company, the architect, along with the account executives, designs the solution, presents it, and sells it. And then once it's done, we go to the next client, and there's another team of engineers that build it. Now, they may need to code. Cloud engineers need to code, but architecture and engineer They're kind of like oil and water, completely different careers with exactly different skill sets.
From utilitarian, man, I like that. If you are a network engineer, what is the best path to transfer into the cloud? And just before utilitarian, we answer that question. This is our last one. So if you all have any questions, we really want to help you out. So based off of our schedules and us needing to answer phone calls for those who participated in today's earlier BGP training, we have to go and take care of those other clients. So we want you all to take the time while we're here to answer any other questions. So without further ado, Mike, could you answer that question? And I'll repeat it again. If you are a network engineer, what is the best path to transfer into the cloud?
Well, utilitarian man, what career do you want in the cloud? For example, if you're a network engineer and you want to become a cloud engineer, that's one path. If you're a network engineer and you want to become a DevOps engineer, that is a totally different path. If you're a network engineer and you want to be a cloud architect, that's a different path. If you're a network engineer and you want to become a data scientist on the cloud, it's still a different path. And it's kind of like we need to know where you want to go. So when you architect a solution, you've got to ask the customer's business problem. What problem are you trying to solve? When you want to architect a career, we need to know what do you want to do. So I need to know your ultimate destination, because otherwise it's like saying, which airplane do I get on? And I'm going to say, well, do you want to go to Cape Town? Take this. You want to go to Tel Aviv? Take LL Airlines. You want to go to Dubai? Trust me, take Emirates Air. It's the best experience in the world. I love Emirates Airlines. Their coach makes American first class feel cheesy because their coach is so good, the flight is so good, and everybody's so nice and friendly on these airplanes. But where do you really want to go? That's going to be the biggest thing that we need to know, is where you want to go. Now, I'll give you some generics on different careers. For example, if you wanted to be an architect, the first thing you'd have to realize is that engineering and architecture have nothing to do with each other. Engineering is about construction, and architecture is about design. I'll do the cloud engineer versus the cloud architect because they're the two most common things that network engineers come for. And utilitarian man, I've retrained a lot of network engineers. And I took somebody like a Joe Millen, who was a network engineer, double CCIE, and he spent about a month in my training program, and we got him a senior solution architect job at AWS. But as a rule from engineering, a network engineer is configuring BGP, they're configuring OSPF, they're configuring intermediate systems, they're configuring MPLS tunnels or RSVP signaling or QoS. As an architect, we got to go ask our client about their business goals. So if you wanted to be an architect, you're going to need training to become an architect. You're going to have to learn how to ask the right questions. As an architect, we present every day, so you're going to have to develop your presentation skills. As an architect, we're not allowed to touch the technology, but we sell, so you're going to have to build your sales skills. As an architect, after I interact with a client, I'm going to look at the design and go, uh-oh, I need some specialties from security, IAM, networking, big data, and I've got to go build a team and lead a team, so you're going to have to learn that. Now, the way you communicate to the CEO or the CIO that's going to write the check for your product is different than a techie. So you're going to need training on CXO relevancy. Now, if you've been an engineer and you want to become an architect, you're still going to have to learn design because engineering doesn't teach you design. It's why the people that fly an airplane aren't the people that design the airplane, because flying an airplane doesn't teach you how to design an airplane. It's the same reason the people that build a shopping mall, the construction workers, aren't asked to design the shopping mall, because they're builders. So you're going to have to learn design. And if you're coming from networking, you're going to have to learn the data center stuff. See, in networking, we know routers and switches and firewalls and IDS, IPS systems, but we may not know load balancers. We may not know DNS, even as networking people, because that's typically done by the sysadmins, not the networking people. We may not know storage, so we'd have to learn it. We may not know business applications because that's not our world. When do we choose a CRM as a network engineer? And those are the kind of things. And then you need to understand the cloud equivalent of those services in the clouds because everything's multi-cloud. Now, by comparison, if you wanted to be a network engineer, a cloud engineer, guess what? It's a totally different skill. Cloud architects design, present, and sell, but cloud engineers build. While an architect doesn't need to code, a cloud engineer sure does. While a cloud architect doesn't do any automation things like infrastructure as code, a cloud engineer sure does. And while CI/CD pipelines are predominantly DevOps engineers' work, a cloud engineer may still get involved in that a little bit along the way. A cloud engineer needs to know Linux. A cloud architect doesn't touch Linux or need to know Linux. A cloud engineer needs to know Kubernetes. So you can see I've got an architect who needs to design, present, and sell and needs business executive skills. And now I've got an engineer which needs building skills. Both are great jobs. The question I have for you is, what do you want to do? So if you're here and you can answer that, great. And if there's a different thing, because maybe you want to be a cloud network engineer, and that's a slightly different job too. But each job requires a different set of skills. That's why internal medicine do internal medicine, and cardiology people do cardiology, and neurology people do neurology, and nephrology people do the same thing. It's the same thing in tech.
All right. Well, good stuff there, Mike. Was hoping we might get utilitarian man to tell us what type of career they want, but we haven't gotten any response. Also, haven't seen any more questions coming in. I guess a lot of people are worn out from that workshop you did earlier today.
We got a lot of knowledge.
Yeah. So if you guys want to share any last words while we see if we get any more questions coming in before we wrap it up.
Sure. So if you've got any questions, ask them now. Otherwise, our team has lots of work to do in the background, and we're going to get back on it. But if you want something, we want to do anything we can to help you. While we wait for that, I'm going to tell you right now, just go after your dreams. I mean, seriously. People are so afraid to become architects because they've read job descriptions which are irrelevant. They've been given bad information. You can do it too. And it doesn't matter your background. It has nothing to do with your experience. I want 5 years experience for a sysadmin. I want 5 years experience for a hotel clerk. I want 5 years experience for a waiter. The reality is I want 5 to 10 years experience for a babysitter for my cat when I go away. And I'm not joking. Everybody wants it, but it doesn't matter. Ivan Tamba, hired by AWS. Last job was a waiter. Coyote, hired by AWS. Last job was a waiter. Jeffrey West, after our training, previous job was a geology guy doing some kind of cool geospatial imaging of the Earth. It was pretty impressive. Vladimir, 24 years old, first tech job, cloud architect. Delroy, first tech job, cloud security architect. Daniel Bosu, 20 years old, didn't even graduate high school, working at JP Morgan Chase as a cloud architect after our training. Jennifer Emu, mental health tech, working as a cloud architect at JP Morgan Chase afterwards. Wallace Agana, also working for JP Morgan Chase. Guess what his last job was? He was a sales rep. Balwinder Kerr, over at Microsoft as a cloud architect. Last job was a stay-at-home mom. Noah Parker, last job was a social worker. Guess what? He's now a cloud architect. Pierre D, over there in Canada. Last job was piloting boats. Now a cloud architect. Al Legisler, great friend of mine, a student of ours. Now a senior solution architect at Deloitte. Last job, sales rep. And I can give you example after example. We had 2 people hired yesterday, 2 people hired Friday, and you can too with the right skills. So the point is go after your dreams. And utilitarian man, you said the engineering aspect. What kind of engineering? Do you want to be a cloud network engineer? Do you want to be a cloud engineer like I told you? Do you want to be a DevOps engineer? You want to be a big data engineer? Again, there's 1,000,001 engineering jobs in the cloud. We still have to know what you want to do.
So even though you said that you have a networking background, utilitarian man, Mike is not trying to be obtuse here.
Oh.
He doesn't know if you want to be a cloud networking engineer. So do you want to be a cloud network engineer? That's if not, what specific role do you want to be?
Right. And again, I'm not trying to be obtuse, but a cloud engineer versus a cloud network engineer versus a DevOps engineer are all cloud engineering jobs, but they're so much different. And there's at least 50 different kinds of other jobs on the cloud, and they all require different skills.
From Aditya, how can I be successful in the cloud system architect role? What are some good resources to improve upon my executive presence?
There's realistically two ways you can do it. You could do what I did, or you could do the courses that we actually put out there for this reason. Our Cloud Architect Career Development Program will improve your executive presence and help you become a great architect. Our Elite Architect Program will take that and go 10 steps more in developing more executive presence, more business acumen, more CXO relevancy, etc. There's two ways you can do it. Now, I produced these courses because I didn't want anybody to have to spend, $200,000 and $300,000 on their education like I did to truly have these skills. Here's what I did. I went and got an MBA. After my MBA, I took about $100,000 of training on these kinds of things. I went to Speakeasy for several courses in California, and they worked on my executive presence. That was about $7,000 or $8,000. I then took executive presence training courses, which were each about $5,000. I took about 3 of them. I then took a couple courses on CXO relevancy. That was well over $10,000. Then I did other executive courses on how to ask the right questions and consulting methodologies. And that was an MBA plus that. So that's one way. The other way is to take my course. And also, I have an executive coach and always have, and she's been with me now for about 20 years. The key is you're going to have a hands-on practice doing it to get better, meaning you're going to have to give presentations and you're going to have to have executives coach you. We coach our people in class, we put them through things and make them do executive things, and we coach their presence. And we ask questions periodically. In our elite program, we do a lot more of it. But you're going to have to get a professional education there. And you can get it from us. You can get it from executive training. But this is not something you're going to get on Coursera or Udemy. You need to basically be taught executive presence from executives themselves, people that have been there, that have done it, people that have run billion-dollar organizations, or people that have done billion-dollar deals, because it's a special level executive presence. So that's how you can do it. Either go to organizations that are experts at it, and there are good ones out there, or learn from us, where we bundle everything into a low price, because our world is about changing lives. But one of those two ways you're going to have to do that. Okay, utilitarian man, you want to settle on the cloud network engineer. Okay, good. This one's going to be real easy if you're a network engineer. First, make sure you've got really good BGP knowledge, because you're going to be using BGP everywhere. Make sure you've got extremely good knowledge of WAN technologies, and that includes VPNs, like your traditional IPsec VPN, which you probably know, private lines, I'm sure you know, but also SD-WAN and SASE, because that's becoming extremely popular. Now, if you're going to do network engineering on the cloud versus network architecture, you're going to need to know Python, because there's going to be a lot of Python and a lot of network automation. Now, you're also going to have to learn the equivalent of the virtual data center in the cloud, the VPC, the VNet, depending upon which cloud provider you are, and you're going to need to get real good on that. Understand the routing limitations. And let me tell you, if you've been a network engineer, once you start doing cloud networking, remember you're back at 1998 levels. AWS can take 100 routes from you, for example. That's it. You know, the things that are coming up on the cloud, like VPC flow logs, Cisco had in 1996 with NetFlow. AWS, for example, has a brand new technology last year. You can run IPsec over a private line. In Cisco, we did that in 1998. So get some of those old school networking skills. Now, most really good network engineers don't work with load balancers in a normal environment. On the cloud, everything's virtual, so you're going to be dealing with a lot of virtual load balancers. So get really good at that. Make sure your route summarization skills are up to snuff, because you can only deal with a few clouds. And then get yourself some familiarity with the cloud. Like, what are you actually doing? What if the cloud called the things that you used to use because they made up all kinds of funny names? So figure out what they actually are. Learn how to work around the deficiencies of the cloud, because you can't just go in there and screw in a router or screw in a firewall. And there's going to be times where you're going to need to use virtual network appliances. But all in all, it's going to be predominantly the same job as you're already in. So if you're going from a network engineer to a cloud engineer, you might even be able to get away with just applying for the job and getting it, because it's pretty much the same job. And you might even be able to learn those few differences along the way. I'd rather hire a really strong network engineer to be a cloud network engineer than to take somebody with 6 certifications that doesn't know networking. But if you want to be a cloud network engineer, you're 80% there already, because the cloud is just a network in a data center that's been virtualized. So kind of think of it in that mind. Everything you're used to using, you're going to still be using the same stuff. It's just now virtual. And you've got a lot more limitations. So just work on that. So I hope we answered your questions today. And I think you guys all asked some great questions. Wish there were more, because I want to help as many as possible. But I'm glad we were able to answer your questions. Hope you guys had fun on the BGP thing today. So I mean it. Go after your dreams. I mean, seriously, do it. My team has come up with a 4th of July promotion. We don't run them very often. I encourage you to take advantage of it. It can and will change your life. I don't want to see you live a life of regret. With this promotion, our tuition right now is 2 days' pay for the average graduate. Approximately, the average average cloud architect earns $800 per day. Realistically speaking, we may not have a next one. And if we do, let me give you a secret about ROI modeling. If somebody waits 3 months to save $800, and the average architect earns $16,000 a month, they lost $48,000 by hoping the next time we're going to do something. Let me tell you, I'd pay $10,000 to save $48,000 and consider it a good investment, and not even do it. And throughout my life, I used to be, can I pay extra to get this thing that I really need faster? Why? It enabled me to get to my goals at a much younger age. So if you're looking to become a cloud architect, we can easily help you. And right now, this is the best deal we're ever going to offer. And I want to see you guys get hired. I want to see you guys get paid more. And I wait for that text that I get from all my students that says, I'm cloud hired, Mike. And then I can tell Chris and Alonzo, when we can all do our funny little happy dances. We don't all have great rhythm, I can tell you that right now. But we all do our happy dance, and we live for getting people hired. So, join the webinar on Thursday, which is where we're going to tell you how to become the ultimate cloud architect. And it'll be live. And you can ask any questions you want. We can even have a face-to-face conversation. But whatever you want to do, you want to be an architect, engineer, airplane pilot, physician, attorney, go after your dreams and don't waste another day of your life.
All right. Well, that was a great Q&A. It's been a great day of workshops and questions and all kinds of stuff. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I know I did. Alonzo, anything that you'd like to add?
I think Mike summed it up. Go for what you want. Don't wait. That's the one thing that we don't have enough. We can buy real estate. You can make plenty of money. You can do all these things. But the one thing that you lose and can never get back is time. So don't delay. Don't procrastinate. Don't go through analysis paralysis. Make that decision today.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We will see you in the webinar on Thursday or in class on Thursday. Either one. Have a good evening.
Take care, everyone.